Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm your host, Lisa Linkowski. I am the owner of Milestone Franchising. I'm a certified franchise consultant representing hundreds of concepts where I matchmake people that want to get into franchise business ownership, all at no cost to them. And Franchise Focus is all about shining a spotlight on the various concepts that are out there in the franchise industry. And today we have a very unique concept, and we have Edward Kaufman, who is joining us from Connecticut via Zoom, and he is the CEO of Orthotic and Prosthetic Clinics of America. And Edward, I had to look at my piece of paper for that one because I didn't want to mess it up. So thank you so much for joining Franchise Focus.
Thank you so much for having me today. Appreciate it.
No, this is great. And you and I, we met at the International Franchise Expo 2021, and you had a booth in the emerging franchise aisle. And I made a beeline right over to you because I have a personal connection to what it is that you do. And I was enamored in the fact that I know there's no other franchise out there doing something like this. And we struck up a conversation, and now I'm excited because I actually represent your concept. So Ed, can you please go through what your background is and talk to us about who you are and what your connection is to this industry?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a third generation practitioner. We have a parent company called Yale Surgical that's been in my family since 1923. So we're celebrating 100 years this year, which is a huge milestone for our company. Very exciting. And like I said, I've seen where the industry has gone. Where it's come from and where it's going. And I'm looking to make a difference and change people's lives.
Excellent. And yes, you are making incredible changes for people. So let's talk about this concept. And, you know, the short acronym is OPCA. And can you explain what this concept is for everyone so they know what it's all about?
Certainly. So this is a concept that's surrounded by orthotic and prosthetic clinics. So basically the franchisee will own a clinic space that'll have a CPO, someone who is a certified prosthesis orthotist, who will be able to see patients for them. And they will have a sales rep, and they'll have a front office staff person help move paper. So the concept, the way that it looks like as far as the individual clinics is something like that. And then as far as a big picture, what we're ultimately looking to do is reach about 400 units. The current market has about 3,000 offices within the space for orthotics and prosthetics, and currently it's a $4 billion industry. So when we took a look at where things are going, by 2028, it's supposed to be an $8 billion industry. So by doing the math at about 400, we can actually have a potential of creating a $1 billion company here. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Wow, fantastic. And your company has a very storied history and has incredible longevity, and that you're celebrating 100 years of being in this world, in this realm. Talk to me about that. Like how, first of all, how did it even get started? And how have you been able to maintain 100 years in a business, which we all know, business ownership is tricky stuff?
Yeah. Like I said, it started in 1923. At one point in time, the company was doing a little bit different. It was doing primarily orthotics and durable medical equipment. I came onto the company about, really more of a full-time position about 10, 15 years ago. And during that time, I recognized that prosthetic really was where the really challenges of orthotics and prosthetics really are really more the prosthetics, as well as the products themselves, and the price points are really more with prosthetics. So I started to shift our business that way more so. Right now, we are focused on growth within the franchise model itself. We're working with a lot of different manufacturers and a lot of different companies to try and provide quality orthotics and prosthetics in a timely manner, while at the same time allowing for autonomy and for clinicians to see patients and treat them the way that they're supposed to be treating them.
And why at this point, 100 years of doing, the business that you guys are doing and changing with the tide and, reinventing yourself and going along with technology, why at this point did you decide to franchise all these years later?
I tried to grow the company bigger than myself, and that was a huge hurdle that I was experiencing. So I decided I wanted to surround myself with like-minded individuals, people that were entrepreneurial, people that wanted to see growth, And so that was really the primary reason for me making that decision. It was more for a growth strategy than for anything.
And you'd also mentioned in our conversation that your competitor, this has gone a different direction than what you would like it to be, and that you want to put this more in the hands of the clinicians. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So in the early 80s, there was a company called Hanger that started to buy up orthotic prosthetic practices to the point where they own 1,500 of the 3,000 O&P shops in the United States currently. But on a positive note, they were just sold recently to a company at Silicon Valley. And I have a little bit of insider information that they really didn't truly know what they were purchasing as far as orthotics and prosthetics. They were just looking for a company that had at least 25% market shares and a price tag of $1 billion. So they chose that company to purchase. So right now we're at a point where there's a lot of uncertainty with that company. Non-compete clauses are being eliminated. People are very unhappy with the current situation and what they're experiencing with the new company. So we have been inundated by the amount of Hanger employees that are looking for another opportunity. So this is an exciting time for us to really strike while the iron's hot.
Absolutely. And in the franchising space, there's all different models, and the big buzzword these days is passive ownership. Passive, passive, passive. And for something like this, you have to be a licensed clinician in order to run this type of facility. So the audience that's listening, they're going, well, I can X this right out because I'm not a licensed clinician in this space. But they can, because this is more of an investor model where they, provide the finances, partner with you to bring on the clinician, and then, run the business from the very top. Can you explain more of that? Because this is more of a semi-passive concept, I would assume, and talk about what that owner would be looking at doing and how do you pair them with the clinician?
Sure, there are a lot of similar models out there as far as medical models. Think about urgent care centers. Think about Pearl Vision. Either you need physicians, you need optometrists. So we're very much to that. We need a CPO. So it's kind of like a pharmacist needing a pharmacy having a pharmacist. So unfortunately, the clinic cannot operate without one. So that is part of the requirements is to have a CPO on staff, but they'd be a staff employee for you. My recommendation would be, in order to maintain that person and keep them vested, would be to offer some kind of sweat equity, whether it's 2-3% for a couple of years. So this way they have some skin in the game and they feel like they're actually working toward a goal.
Excellent. And, it is something that people are looking at. And you're right, the urgent care world is an excellent example of that. Because it's all medical. So anything in that medical space, you've got to have the licensing, and you're going to help with partnering people within that space and probably looking at this area that you just mentioned with your competitor and going after those people. Would probably be first and foremost, I would assume. So very exciting news. You just recently sold your first franchise, and that's the hardest part, right? It's that when you talk to other people and they're like, well, how many owners do you have? And for in the beginning you're like, well, I don't have any, but now you get to say that you have one, which is very exciting. Tell us about who is this person? How did they find you? Where did they come from? And how has that all gone so far?
Certainly. So he located me through another brokerage firm. He himself happens to be inside the hospitals. He works for a company that does implantable bone stimulators. So he was very unhappy with his current role. He was unhappy with the salary that he was receiving. So he was looking for another avenue for revenue. So this is a semi-passive, as we talked about, semi-passive role. So he's able to do just that. He actually keeps his full-time job working with the company he's currently working with, and then he's applying about 10 to 15 hours a week to do the human component, the human resource component, the AR and the AP for the company. So really, he was an ideal candidate because he has knowledge and personal relationships with a lot of physicians that are in the area. We were very lucky. We talk about Hanger. We were able to capture a seasoned CPO and a technician that worked for them that was in the area. So we acquired them. And he's been open since November. He already has the VA contract. We already have Medicare contracts. He already has legs coming. It's going to be a 7-figure office within a year. So I'm very excited for him.
Wow, that is terrific. And that core we call it the core 10 in franchising, that those first 10 owners are so critical. And to have found someone that's in this space, is great, because then that just helps you. But you're not focused on just people that are in this space to become owners. So what do you believe an ideal franchisee looks like for you, other than people that are in this world?
I'm looking for someone who's motivated, someone who has entrepreneurial spirit, someone that recognizes that this is a very complex type of an industry. We're not making pizza here. We're not doing hamburgers. It's also a very rewarding field. So it's just different. It's going to take the right type of person. Someone that maybe has some medical knowledge would be fantastic. But even not, it's really not necessary. I mean, it's just another widget we're just doing here. So again, if they want to be semi-passive, they can handle the back end of the business, or they can get involved with doing marketing, and they can even become an orthotic fitter and have hands-on experience that way. But like I said, this is just a little bit of a different type of offering.
And so you're currently searching for people across the country. Do you have a specific area that you're looking to grow? Because clearly, your first franchise is not in an area that, tends to be the hot focus in franchising, but that's fine. The first one is the first one, wherever you can get it. Do you have a specific area geographically that you're hoping to start with and kind of build out, or it doesn't matter to you?
I see a ton of opportunity in Florida, to be honest. We opened up our headquarters in Tampa, Florida, which is actually inside the International Institute for Orthotics, which is the #1 school for it in the United States. So we see a ton of opportunity down there for our students to be placed in residency programs, for just plain office growth. We've had that office for about a year now, and it is just we're going to need to open a second office pretty soon, not too far from it. So there's a lot of opportunity in Florida, I see. Then coming up the rest of the East Coast, I mean, I see North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. These are all areas that I would like to further grow, and then also all the way up to New England. So ultimately, I'd like to stay on this side of the state, but however, wherever the opportunity arises, that's where we'll be. This concept can be it's very easily it's easily utilized remotely. So we can really put it wherever whatever state is the need or the request is.
Wonderful. And it just, the sky's the limit out there for the audience that is listening, that this is available everywhere. And you are an emerging franchise, and being in that very beginning stage, it's a little riskier, right? It's a little riskier, but it's also, you're at the cutting edge of something, especially the fact that you don't have anyone else in this franchise space. But to those that would say, this is super risky, and I'm nervous because there's nothing else out there. Really, what would you say to those people? Because you spoke off some staggering statistics about how big this industry is. Is that where you would focus on?
Yeah, I'm really not concerned about the growth. I mean, we're talking about 65% net margin rates on some of these products, so I'm not so concerned about that. I don't see that really being an issue for us as far as margins.
Good, excellent. So the risk, you've got this big area of need, and we all know the stats about the people that are turning 65 every day, that whole generation, and the needs that are going to be that have to be met as people continue to age, and you're going to be servicing that much needed area for them. And so there's no concern about where are you going to find customers, like you already know. And you said that this is an insurance play, and you're not having to sit there worrying about everything being out of pocket, what have you. There's so much more that we're going to dive in here. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then get right back into this. So stay tuned, and we're going to hear from Zoom One Media and Advertising.
I'm Bob Hokertl from Kings Road Brewing Company. I'm here to tell you about a brand new show on RVN television called Cooking with the King. Each week, we're going to taste and sample some of the best beers the Kings Road Brewing Company has to offer. And we're going to talk to area chefs and restaurant owners as we pair our beer with their signature dishes. We're going to teach you how to cook and eat like a king. Cheers.
Welcome back to Franchise Focus, and I'm your host, Lisa Linkowski, and my guest today is Edward Kaufman, who is the CEO of Orthotic and Prosthetic Clinics of America. And we were talking about, just how large this industry is and the need that this franchise concept is going to be serving. And one of the things that when I'm talking to my candidates that I like to highlight for different concepts is revenue streams. And the more revenue streams there are, the happier I am, and then the happier my candidates are. So talk to us about that, Ed. What are the different revenue streams that this concept offers?
It's a very diverse company what we have here. So when we're looking at facilities that we're going to be working with, we're going to be working with skilled nursing facilities, extended care facilities, acute care facilities like hospitals. Really, any medical facility would require some of our services, whether that's podiatric, orthopedic, or vascular. And then getting back to referral sources, we get referrals from many different referral sources: podiatrists, orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, neurologists, vascular surgeons. Now we're starting to get a lot more from endocrinologists. We're getting a lot from internal medicine doctors. And even OBGYNs. We're doing mother-to-be belts. So there's the product lines that we have are really diversified and really cover a lot of different specialties within medicine. So it offers us a lot of diversity, and it really helps us stabilize the company.
And you don't work with just people that are amputees. You also work with athletes that are injured. And you have, an indoor tread wall and a golf and ski simulator. Talk to me about that. Tell us about, this conversion with the athletes and how you're helping them to get better and get right back out there again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we have video simulators, we have rock climbing walls, we have all types of different obstacle courses. It's all really to simulate real life situations. So it's to try and take and figure out either how to use the prosthesis or the orthotic device, into the maximum of its ability. We do work with a lot of athletes currently. We do a lot of custom bracing, and some off-the-shelf bracing as well. And really, what we're doing is we're just trying to get them back to their baseline of functionality. So they have a deficit, and we're trying to overcome that deficit and trying to level the playing field, if you will.
And you also work with 3D printing, which is, the cutting edge of technology. How is that applying for the franchisees? Will they have 3D printers in each of their locations, or will this be coming from the corporate offices in Florida? How does that work?
So we took a look at where the deficiencies are with some of the larger companies. And one of the huge deficiencies is time. So it's not acceptable for me to have a test socket done in 2 weeks, but that's acceptable for their company. So for me, I'm used to a 1 or 2 day turnaround time, and then I'm usually get a patient fit with the prosthesis within a week. So by us taking and partnering with a company called Prosthetic, we're actually able to put a printer in each one of our franchisees' offices. What that does for us is they'll see a patient in the morning, they'll scan that patient, it'll be sent digitally to Prosthetic where they'll modify it. They'll kick it back to our printer, and we'll actually have a socket printed in 2.5 hours. So we have same-day socket fit, which is unheard of in our industry. So this really gives us a huge competitive advantage. I will tell you that the next step would be to go to a carbon fiber socket, so it's something more permanent. That does require a carbon printer, which at this particular time we've not invested in, but that is our long-term goal. So the carbon printer will also be in your office, so you'll be able to print the definitive socket as well immediately.
Wow, it's amazing how this technology in this space has changed so much. And the fact that you are dedicated and committed, and you've got the 100 years behind you to stay on top of it, because it's not going to stop evolving. It's just going to keep on going, and you're going to be able to utilize that and bring that to your franchise system is amazing. So that actually brings up another point, is inventory. How much inventory is an owner expected to have for a concept like this, where there's so many different needs for so many different variables? Tell us about that.
Inventory there really isn't much inventory, to be honest with you. A lot of these things we're doing, definitely as far as prosthetics, are custom fabricated. So $10,000 of inventory, that should give you some stock goods, some braces off the shelf. That'll give you some liners for prosthetics. That'll give you some, some basic, your basic needs. But as far as us having a huge inventory, that's not necessary. We do a lot of things by drop ship, so we'll order the patient's devices. They'll come in individually. So as far as that's not a concern for us.
And that's always a relief, right? From the numbers standpoint, when you've got an investor and they're looking at how much inventory that they're going to get stuck with, and hearing that it's very minimal is always music to their ears, for sure. And the fact that you're not having to deal, the franchisees are not having to deal with vendors. They're purchasing everything direct from you, correct?
So actually, I just implemented a brand new EMR system, and I'm very excited about this. With the last 2 years with COVID, there have been a lot of challenges, not so much with the business, but more so with employees. So what I have actually implemented this month was a brand new EMR system that is designed to alleviate any errors from our employees. For an example, as the patient goes through our process, one of the process steps is authorization. The patient's insurance has to be authorized, and then they're notified when they're to come in. Well, that notification comes through, and sometimes an employee doesn't call the patient, or calls later, or whatever it is. At that same time, the patient is actually getting an alert on their phone letting them know, hey, the authorization has been complete. Please call our office to make an appointment. So we have a fail-safe. Next, we continue along the process. We order the patient's device. The device comes into our office. Same thing. Device is in our office. A notification goes out to the patient. Your item has arrived. Please call and make an appointment for us. And again, eliminating the error from the employee. And the final step of this whole thing, you got to think of this. These are patients that are going to be lifelong patients for us. So this is like a building block. So we're building one brick at a time. So for us with prosthetics, it's a revolving door. Every 6 months they're coming back. Every year they're coming back. So it's really important to maintain that and keep that going. But by doing that, that's how we're really able to grow and make something substantial.
Wow, incredible! And you have an association with Wounded Warriors and Special Olympics. What's the relationship that you have with them? What are you doing with them?
Yeah, we work a lot with them down in Florida. So we did Wounded Warrior last year. We sponsor a lot of their events. I will tell you that the plan for Florida is we're going to be putting up a sports complex that'll have a running track, that'll have areas for all Special Olympians to be able to train. So it's going to be a game changer for orthotics and prosthetics. Where we are right now and what we're doing right now, no one in our industry is doing. So we're super excited about this.
And again, that is always things that people are listening to, is what are you doing that's different? How are you differentiating from your competition? Staying ahead of the curve with technology, not having inventory, having high gross margins. What more can you ask for, Ed, right? Like, this is it.
It's a very profitable, very good industry. Like I said, it's the money's good, but it's also very rewarding. So it's really a great profession.
That is the key, is talking about changing and helping change people's lives that are in so much need. Both my mother-in-law and my father-in-law both had prosthetics, and if you're not familiar with that space and you're not familiar with someone, having to deal with that and figuring out how they're going to go about their lives when something so incredibly difficult has happened to them, and the fact that you are dedicating everything to helping these people is just fantastic. So you get this great business model, and you're helping people, and you're helping to change people's lives. You're helping athletes to get better and stronger and back, from a course of injury. Marketing, you just mentioned that you're a sponsor. So what type of marketing are you offering for the franchise systems as they come on board?
So we have a 1% marketing fund that everyone kind of pitches into. So we use that a lot for Wounded Warrior Special Olympics. The other areas, we would hire a sales rep. The sales rep would be specific to each franchise location. They're going to go out, they're going to go canvassing for physicians, they're going to do lunch and learns. When they obtain those, they're going to grab the CPO to go in there and help to educate the physician on who we are and what we do. So it's a lot of hitting the ground running kind of work. We'll do some on the back end, some cold calls on the back end to try and move things along a little bit faster before we even open the doors. But that's truly our marketing strategy, how we market through.
And marketing is critical, getting that word out, just like you said earlier about that you've got all of these referral partners that are out there, and it's pretty endless, the amount of people that you can go out and reach out to. But you're brand new in whatever state, whatever location, no one's heard of you, no one knows about you, no one knows about the great things that you guys have been doing for 100 years. So having that solid marketing plan in place is really, really beneficial for the franchisee, and a 1% brand fund is very reasonable. And and I'm sure you're going to, as you continue to grow, that's just going to continue and evolve of how you're getting that word out there, because then people can sit there and do sponsorships in their local community and do other things that are more tied to their own community to get the word out, which is always a wonderful thing too. So we've covered marketing. You partner and pair the franchisee, the franchise owner, with this CPO, this certified practitioner. That's probably another area that I would get, pause on. Well, how am I going to find these people? And what happens if they leave me? Like, my whole business is just upended because I don't know anything about it. I can't come in there and run this. So what would you, how are you addressing that? What would you say about how you're partnering and pairing them, and then how do you keep them? That would be what I would say. That would be the crux of my question.
Yep. So we're partnering with them. We do a lot of advertisement on OP Edge. I'm very much involved in LinkedIn. I have about 22,000 followers from the OP industry, so I do a lot on LinkedIn. As far as marketing for them, a lot of them are reaching out to me, to be honest with you, looking for opportunities. So I don't think we're gonna have a hard time finding these CPOs, like I said, especially because I'm also in the school. So we're having those second generation of CPOs that will be able to help moving forward as we continue to grow. So I'm not seeing that as being a hurdle. My only concern for everyone is I want to make sure that you retain the CPO, because again, we talked about this, it's like having a pharmacy without a pharmacist. It just doesn't work. So I would recommend some type of sweat equity, 2%, 3%, maybe for a few years, just something so that they feel they're vested. And that's really, that would be my only recommendation. It's not a requirement, but it's a recommendation.
Right, and it's something that you're saying, listen, you want to keep these people, you want them to care about this, and you are not in it day to day, all day long. This person is, so offer them something, give them a little bit of taste in the business so that they have an incentive for wanting to stay with you. So yeah, I get that all the way. Well, Edward, listen, this has been great. I'm so thrilled that you're part of IFPG and that I get to represent your concept. I look forward to talking to my candidates about this concept, and you can reach out to Edward. What is your website, Edward, that people can to find out more about you?
Sure, it's opclinicsamerica.com.
Wonderful. And Franchise Focus airs every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you can find out more about me at my website at milestonefranchising.com. And thank you so much for tuning in.